just a hack. He's just an absolute hack. And he gets his ass kicked by his teammates every week. It's just, it's terrible. It's just terrible.
Week 5 of college football just wrapped up, and we have another Power 5 coach that has just been fired. Colorado is firing Karl Dorrell, who started the season 0-5, had a 8-15 record in his time leading the Buffaloes. Did get to an Alamo Bowl, but that was in 2020. Didn't play enough games to really get a determination of how good Dorrell was in that season in his first season. So this firing is not surprising at all. I don't think anyone watching this video is shocked or disappointed or annoyed that Dorrell was fired, because that Colorado team was slowly falling apart and was getting worse and worse after Mel Tucker left. And then on top of that, this season, at the start of the season, 0-5 start, I don't even think is fully indicative of how terrible that team has been and how bad they looked in every game that they've played so far this year. They have been one of the worst teams in college football across the board, not just in the Pac-12. Now that he's gone and they're starting from scratch, let's talk about some potential candidates. And there's two really intriguing ones, separate from the usuals that get brought up, like if Matt Rule gets fired, Dan Mullen's still available. You got Tom Herman, who's available. Both those guys are in broadcasting booths. I think that the two that make the most sense are two guys that have connections to Colorado from their playing days. And these guys, too, have their own unique connection to one another. It's very rare for a program like Colorado that's a mid-tier Power 5 program, mid to bottom tier for their conference, to be able to get somebody who was a player at your former program. It's not easy to do. And you want somebody who has that connection, who is going to want to come back and stay for not just using it as a jumping off point, that they want to stay and build and develop the program to a point where it's very highly competitive and it's one of the best in the conference. I don't know if Colorado even has that ceiling with the budget that, that they have compared to other teams within the Pac-12, but nonetheless, this is an easy hire for both these guys. The first one, I think that is the best one and the most likely, is Ryan Walters, who's Illinois' defensive coordinator. Now, if you're wondering, what the heck has Illinois done? When have they ever been good? They're 4-1 right now at the start of the season, and Illinois' defense has the number one scoring defense in the country. Walters was previously a safety for the Buffalo's defense in the early 2000s, so he played on that defense. He's a really good defensive coach, and he can step right in and be ready to lead this program. On top of that, though, interestingly enough, Walters, his father also played for the program, according to his Wikipedia page. So you have the double connection there, where not only he is an alum and a former player, his father is also an alum and a former player. So with that being said, this has to be the home run hire. He's a coordinator at another Power 5 program in a different conference. He is going to be willing to come in most likely and lead and develop this program. The other one that is interesting to consider is Eric Bieniemy, who is the Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator. Now, Bieniemy has been through the ringer when it comes to these head coach openings in the NFL. I don't think that it is likely that Bieniemy is going to end up with a college coaching gig. If he does, this one makes the most sense because he was a very talented elite running back for Colorado when he played there. And we know that the success that he has had with that Kansas City Chiefs offense and the team that he's been a part of. But I think that after the multiple coaching carousels and his name being brought up as a likely favorite to be a candidate, a highly prized candidate, and not getting a job, this is likely going to be the cycle that he does get offered one. Now, if he is frustrated with the lack of results, and maybe he's also frustrated with, the early signs of the process, this upcoming coaching carousel, maybe he decides to go and coach at Colorado. But I think with how long of a timetable that will ultimately lead out to, because the Chiefs are going to be in the playoffs, they might have a long playoff run. He's not going to be available for negotiations for any of these types of things for him to make a proper decision until it's too late. For that reasoning, again, I think Walters makes the most sense. Getting a guy who played on that defense, was a part of that program, double connection to the program. He is a West Coast guy from Los Angeles. He is going to know how to recruit the West Coast effectively, which is what you need. But again, the most important thing is having played there will not guarantee, but will be easier and also more likely that he stays for an extended period of time. Maybe not for good, but just for a longer period of time. So those are my two candidates. If you think I'm missing anybody, drop a comment below. Also hit that like button and subscribe. And make sure you hit that notifications button so you don't miss out on any of our live streams.